Good morning. Happy Friday. You guys have made it. Hold on, let me pause myself. Okay. You guys made it. You made it this far in the challenge. I'm so excited. Hi, I see you guys in the chat. Happy Friday. How are you guys doing this morning? How's everybody feeling 5 days into this, guys? Man, we've done some great work together, and I'm really grateful that you all let me kind of walk through this with you. This is some deep heart work, right? I mean, one of the sentiments that I've heard from a few of you is, and this is in email and this is in DMs, like, wow, I came just to maybe reset my business. But what I'm walking away with as a result of these 5 days together, 4 previous days together is really a lot deeper and a lot more impactful than that, right? Some of you are like, I need to decide if I want to keep doing this business, or I need to roll into a different idea, or I need to pause in this season of life, or I need to restructure everything. And some of you have realized, like, I think I'm in a sweet spot. I just need to tweak some things so that work moves me towards my vision. So, man, it's just been some really good work. Hi, I love seeing all these familiar faces. Brooke, Allison, Dominique, Lisa, Paula, Joanna. It's so great to see you guys back. I am so excited. Okay, we're going to get to, I'm watching the chat about the 15th. If you missed yesterday's call and haven't watched the replay, let me just tell you real quick what we announced yesterday as a next step for you after this challenge, before we dive into like the last little bit of content. You have done some amazing work over the past 4 days, right? You have crystallized your vision. You've clarified why it's worth it to you to be a business owner and the specific goals motivating those reasons. You've assessed your current reality in both work and life. You've done the heart work of like uncovering why you might be falling into patterns of overwork. You've crystallized what would make the next 3 years the best years of your life, right? That was such a good exercise. You've identified some immediate changes that you feel like you need to make that you can implement right away. And last night's prompt, you did some work to begin to get curious about how to better align your work, your vision for work with your vision for life, right? That's the next logical step. And that's where everyone's like, okay, where do I go from here? I can see clearly where I'm at. I can see where I want to be. Now I have to figure out how the heck do I build a profitable, sustainable business model that actually moves me toward that life vision and isn't in conflict with that life vision, right? It's moving you towards that vision, not away from that vision. And so what we came up with is that I'm going to just jump in and do a 1-day intensive deep dive coaching opportunity with you guys. Okay. And so many of you here are already signed up for that. We just wanted to create like a next step for you. And I wanted to remind you about that because the half price, like we cut the price in half only up until tonight at midnight. So we're going to offer it at a much higher rate for the masses, for everyone that hasn't been a part of this challenge and the deep work that you guys have done over the last 5 days. But for you guys, it's $297 up until midnight tonight. So listen, if that feels like the logical next step for you, then please take advantage of that opportunity and listen to me. We're going to do some incredible stuff, but even if you can't be there live, so it is scheduled for September 15th, it'll be an all-day virtual deep dive together. But even if you can't be there live, this is why I want you to go ahead and take advantage of this, because you're going to get the recording from the intensive day. And that means that every year when you in January or in December set aside time to do a planning day away for yourself as a business owner, I will be right there with you. I will be there walking you module through what I do and through all of this deep work, and then even more to really help you solidify a solid business plan. So you're going to come away with it with an even deeper dive into crystallizing your vision for life and then specifics for work, right? We've talked a lot about life vision, but like, how does that translate into work in your current season? Do you have very clear measurables for how you're going to define success, financial measurables, time measurables? How does success feel? That kind of thing. And then some added amazing stuff I'm excited to get into there that we just haven't had time for here is like clearly identifying your zone of genius and whether you're in the right business, and then creating a roadmap. And you're going to come away with a 12-month framework and a roadmap for like building this type of profitable, scalable business that supports your vision. I'm also roping in my husband, special guest, Graham Cochran. He is a business coach and the author of How to Get Paid for What You Know. He's going to be there for the second half of the day. And we're just going to do lots of hands-on nuts and bolts coaching with you guys. So that'll give you all a chance. Here I've been having you do the work, but you haven't really had a chance to like share it with us, like read what you wrote, troubleshoot as you're going, talk through where you're getting stuck. We haven't really had the time and opportunity here with the number of people coming in and out of this challenge, but that will be more of what we're able to do together in that coaching opportunity. So do that. If that price changes tonight at midnight, do not forget, make yourself a note, talk to your husband, make that decision, but don't worry about whether you can be there live or not. The way we're going to construct this and the workbook you're going to get with it is going to basically provide something that you could use every year when you're doing your planning day away to revisit this stuff. Okay. You guys good? That's socialsquares.com/intensive. Please, please, please don't wait until the price goes up after this evening. So let's jump in today. All right. I would love to hear from you. First of all, what has been your favorite exercise that we've done? It would be so helpful for me to know what has been the most helpful for you. What of what we've done, going back to your whys, clarifying your crystallizing your 3-year vision for life and work. Was it the holistic life assessment that we did area by area to kind of help you understand, be honest about where you're at? Was it the 3 reasons why we tend to fall into overwork? Like, I would love to hear from you guys, which has been your favorite / the most clarifying for you? Which has been your favorite or the most clarifying for you? I think for me, the why, it really is a big one, because a lot of you in this group got back to your original why and you were like, either A, I've hit it, so awesome, I never celebrated that, or B, I'm not even remotely close to, I said I got into work for this and this isn't happening at all. So why might that be? Why am I not getting to experience that? For some of you, it was maybe the reasons for overwork. Like now you're like, oh man, I get it. That's why I keep doing this in this way. So I would love to hear from you guys. Okay. Allison says the reasons for overwork was major. Allison, I remember hearing your thought process about that yesterday. And that was, you were like really bearing your soul. And I appreciate the honesty and transparency that you shared with us and how you're showing up for yourself. And like, you're like, wow, this is where I'm at. This is what's motivating me. I don't want this to be motivating me. Yesterday revisiting the 3 years in the future journaling. Oh, that question is just solid gold, isn't it? And I have follow-up questions for that. So this is what we're going to do at the intensive. There's actually like 3 more parts to that question. And we're going to, all the things that we've already covered that we will revisit in the intensive, it's because we're going to go a few layers deeper. So I'm excited about that. There's more even to that question. Lisa agreed. She said, I love the 3-year future casting. Cassidy said, why I fall into overwork for sure. That's so helpful. Natalia said, did I say your name right? I'm sorry if I didn't. I like the questions, the numbers, and ranking these. So day 2, rating each of, sorry, the chat is moving so fast. I already lost it. Rating each area of my life was very eye-opening, very helpful. Dominique liked the 3-year dream prompt. Cindy said the 3-year thing was great. I really wanted to ask you, Cindy, because you said you took them with you to counseling. You took your 3-year vision. I think that is so genius. I'm going to like DM you and I want to hear. I want to hear how that went as much as you want to share, because I think that's powerful stuff to take that to counseling. Okay. 3 common drivers. Crystal said the 3 common drivers behind overwork. Good. I'm so glad that was helpful. Natalia said the 3-year vision. Laura said the questions What am I telling myself about the situation and what is true? Right? Oh man, that was great. That was great stuff. I wanted to deep dive into that more too, but there just wasn't enough time. Um, Michael said, I love the idea of creating a growth plan in connection with your vision and values. So many workshops around the topic lead you down a path of overwork and overwhelm, right? That's true. There are so many workshops out there that are just going to help you build a business vision, and your life is just like picking, is the collateral damage of that isolated work vision. And that's the opposite of what we want to do, right? Like your life is made up of so many more components than just work. Clarifying my why. 3 years was different as it's not immediately, right? And it's not the typical like 5 years or 10 years. I totally agree with that. Brooke said, business standstill can be a catalyst for change, and how I use creating to feel important and accomplished. That's awesome. Krista said, it was great to really think about what was motivating me. I love that. Jen said, I love the most important thing to me that was different than anything else is the blending of work and life throughout. I'm so glad, Jen. That's helpful. That really is the goal here. Again, we don't want two different visions, life and work, taking you in two different directions. And we don't want one to be crystallized and not the other, right? Because then the one that's crystallized that there's intentionality around is going to win, and the other one's going to suffer. And you can have two different ones, or they're going to be in tension. You really have to build them integrated. And so that's really the goal of this whole week. So thank you. I'm so glad that that has been a takeaway. Laura said she took hers to therapy as well too. Therapy twice this week. It basically has been like group therapy here for the week. It totally has. Okay. So cool. Yeah. I just love this. I love the takeaways that you guys are seeing. Oh, it just makes me so happy. Okay. So next I would really love to hear, and this is for me and this is for you also, because I really want you, last night's prompts began to do this, but I really do want you to move towards crystallizing even one or two small changes that you need to make, right? This is not good in theory. This is good in practice. So we've got to kind of move this from head to heart to action, or heart. Maybe in this case, we've kind of gone heart to head to action, forward movement. So what I would love to hear in the chat is one specific change that you're going to make as a result of these past 4 days. What is one specific change? It can be small. It can be like, I'm going to start eating lunch again, at my workday. Or it can be big. It can be like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this business, or I want to cut my hours in half, or, I need to invite my husband into giving an opinion on how this business is working and how it's going for us as a family. It doesn't matter how big or how small. What is one specific change that you are going to make so far as a result of these past 4 days? Lane says, not taking on any more one-on-one clients for 2022. Wow. So that I can transition to the next vision. Did that feel scary to make that decision? I remember the day. I remember the night that I made that decision about wedding and portrait work to move into commercial work. I was sitting on my couch. Graham and I were watching TV. This was, I don't know, eight years ago or something. And all of a sudden I was like, that's it. I just got to do it. I've been beating around the bush for too long. And I went into my office. I'd like disappeared. We're watching, something. And I'm like, I'll be right back. Disappear into my office and come back an hour later. And I sat back down on the couch and I was like, babe, I just deleted my entire 10 years worth of wedding and portrait work off of my website. And I just changed the headline to be a commercial product photographer. I just did it. I'm not going to take any more wedding and portrait clients. And I had been kind of putting off and dreading that decision for at least a year, when you stop responding to client inquiries. And anyway, I won't bore you with my story, but I know what that feels like. And that's really major. I just want to celebrate that with you. That was a big decision. Anik, I'm not sure how to say your name either. I'm sorry. It's a beautiful name. I'm sorry if I just butchered it. You said, allow myself to go 1 week off. Sorry, I just lost it. 1 week off on holiday without my cell and MacBook. Get it. That is awesome. That is awesome. High five. Becky said, more quality time with my husband. Make my husband a priority. Okay, Becky, I'm going to challenge you. What does that mean? What does that mean? How are you going to do it? Does that mean you're going to turn off your phone at 8 p.m. so that the rest of your evening, you don't have a device to be on? Does that mean that you're going to hire a babysitter every Tuesday night? I'm not trying to be, I look so serious and intense. But I really want you to solidify that, right? Because it's easy to say more, and you might've defined this for yourself, but so I'm just like live practice challenging you. Like, what does that look like? What are the specifics there? Cindy said, making a point of figuring out what I want and putting the work in to pursue it. Yeah, that's great work. That is the next step for you, I think. Jennifer, I'm going to start producing content. I know more than I think I do. Yep, that's right. You probably do. And I've been hesitant to put anything out there in fear that it's not good enough. That's a major move. Good job. Good job, Jennifer. Okay. Laura said time blocking and hiring or asking family for childcare help. Okay. That's awesome. Allison said, being consistent with my content publishing. Crystal says, include my vision in my planning. That's awesome. Dominique says, I want to start focusing on meta batching to get a better handle on my organization within my business and my mom's. Okay. I was in the middle of taking on a project. Thanks to this week, I negotiated boundaries around my hours, asked for a lot more money, and got both. What? That is awesome. I'm going to read that again. Thanks to this week, I negotiated boundaries around my hours and I asked for a lot more money and got both. I would never have asked for this without the class. You helped me see my value, both in my abilities, but my value to be present for my family. Oh my gosh, that is so awesome. I'm so excited for you. Okay, I could just sit here and read these all day, but we want to get to some more stuff. So this is amazing. I love that you guys are crystallizing action steps. That's awesome. My hope really is that from here, you do let last night's reset prompt guide your next steps. I have 2 more reset prompts for you tonight. So don't worry, we're not done. But I do think that the question that we asked last night is a good one. Like, if I were to start from scratch, what would I do differently? And I think that starting from scratch piece is an important part of it. When radical change is needed, it might mean taking the business all the way down to the studs and really rebuilding internally, or it might just mean, for you, a few little tweaks to the way you offer your product or service or how you're showing up in it or the boundaries you put around it. I have to kind of mentally take the business down to the studs often. Like, I have to put up big white pieces of paper and be like, what is my product again? Who is my audience? What pain point am I serving? How am I generating traffic? What are my lead sources? Because as we're going in small business, I know you all can identify this. It's almost like our activity and what we put ourselves to snowballs. And as it rolls, you collect new to-dos and you collect shoulds and you collect places, good ideas, and you collect opportunities and you collect places you need to show up and things you need to add to what you're working on. And just snowballs and snowballs and snowballs until you're so busy and you're not, you're like, where am I even headed? Do I even want to be here? So I really do have to kind of take the business down to the studs mentally on the regular, like at least twice a year. To really think through, refocus. Okay, hold on, shake off all that stuff. Like, no, I do not have to be on Clubhouse right now. It's fine. This is where my leads come from. It just takes redoing that. And I think going from idea of vision for life and idea of merging vision for business together does take some very key ingredients. It really takes identifying your unique contribution. It really takes identifying what only you can offer the world. But I actually prefer the concept of zone of genius to that, because that can feel overwhelming. Like, I don't know, what can only I offer the world? But when we start talking about zone of genius, I think there's some nuances in there that are really helpful. So it takes really knowing what you want to do and what you're really good at. And then with the numbers, identifying what your rock star product or service could be, and then how to offer that in a scalable way, and then building a strategic business plan. So what I want to do with our time today, before I give you your reset prompts at the end, is I want to kind of roadmap for you out. If you cannot attend the intensive, or if you are planning to attend the intensive, I want to walk you through basically a roadmap for how you really go from vision for life to vision for business, and what those components entail, so that whether or not you can join us for the intensive or purchase it so that you have the recording, whether or not you can work through that with us, I want you to have a pen and paper right now, and I want you to mentally make note of what those steps are. Okay. And then what I want you to do in the chat as we go through this. So real quick, grab a piece of paper, grab a pen if you don't already have it. As we work through these things, I want you to do some self-assessment of where you are at currently, scale of 1 to 10. I feel good about this, because what I'm going to walk you through really does kind of progress. It builds on itself. That's how I constructed this whole week, was to really build on itself one thing at a time. And so I want you to kind of do some mental assessment of where you're at so that you have a better idea of where you need to dig in next, whether that's with me and Graham at the intensive or on your own. Okay. You guys ready for that? You got your paper, you got your pen. And if you want to, drop a comment in the chat as you're going about like, I feel like I'm at a 6 out of 10 on this. I feel like I'm at a 2 out of 10 on this. I feel like I'm at a 10 out of 10. This is awesome. I really feel like I really clarified this today. Drop that in the chat as you go, but really do assess yourself on each of these points. Okay. You ready? This journey. And this is kind of a roadmap forward for you. So number 1, crystallizing vision for life and then vision for work. How do you feel about that? Give yourself a rating. We've talked about your why. Does your why still apply? What are the specifics of that? What are the definitive measures of success? And then I have a whole nother, like, I'm so excited. I want to take you guys, like, there's some other questions that I want to ask relating to why, but how do you feel about that? Okay. Crystallizing your vision for life, crystallizing your vision for work. What would you rate yourself? You feeling good about that? Next step, you have to assess your current reality. We've done a lot of that work here. How do you feel about that? Having done that current assessment, right? We looked at the rating, the 8 years. We looked at the hidden driving forces behind overwork. Do you feel like you have a grasp on where you're at? Rating 1 out of 10. Do you feel like you have a grasp on where you're at with holistic life assessment and your current reality? Okay. We built on that with defining success. Well, actually, we haven't really done this really in depth. We started to a little bit with the why questioning, but I think the next layer deeper after that is really defining what success looks like in this season, how you're going to measure success. Okay. So how have you been defining success up until now? How do you want to define success moving forward? Is it a dollar amount? Is it amount of hours worked? Is it the way that you feel in work? And how are you going to measure whether or not you're making progress towards your goal? So how do you feel you're at there with defining success? 1 out of 10, 1 to 10. Where are you at with that? On top of that, you got to get rid of the mindsets that are blocking you from moving forward. Okay. There's 2 dangerous mindsets. We have not talked about this yet. We'll cover it in the intensive, but there's 2 mindsets that we all fall into. Usually we fall into both. I fall into both, and I'm 16 years into business. These 2 mindsets will hold you back. One is a fixed mindset and one is a victim mindset. Okay. We haven't talked about that here in the challenge because we just haven't had time, but maybe you already know a little bit about that. Maybe you've heard about it. Maybe you've heard some teaching on it. Where are you at? Scale of 1 to 10 with understanding whether or not you fall into either of those 2 mindsets and how to break past them. All right. You got to know where you want to go. Then you got to know where you're currently at. Then you got to know the mindsets that are getting in your way from moving forward. All right. Then you add to that, you have to really get a grasp of your zone of genius. We've kind of talked a little bit about this, but are you even in the right business? If you're not loving work, or if it's not working, why? If it's not popping and you're not loving it and it's not profitable, are you even in the right business? And that has to do with really identifying your zone of genius. And zone of genius is the thing that you are best at, that is just so fascinating to you that it feels effortless. So what is that for you? Do you, scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that you feel like you understand your zone of genius? All right. That is critical to moving forward. I am still unpacking my zone of genius, but critical for moving forward because you got to make sure you're building a business in that zone of genius. So scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that you've landed at your zone of genius and the right business model for you right now? There's some other assessment there that I want to do. I'll do in the intensive about where your current business falls. But then I also want to talk about talent stacking, like how your different unique experiences and gifts kind of stack and layer together to be your differentiator. So if you already know about that and you've already done that, then rate yourself highly, one to 10, that you feel really confident about that. From there, you want to build on to actually nuts and bolts building the business model. There are lots of different types of businesses out there, right? There are product-based businesses. There are service-based businesses. There are passive income businesses. There are one-for-one business. I mean, there's a lot of different business models. They each have different capacity for scaling. So you have to really settle on what your ideal business model is based on your zone of genius, based on your capacity, based on your vision. How much do you want to give this? What do you want to pour yourself into? How many hours a week? So how do you feel about your business model? Scale of 1 to 10. How confident do you feel about your current business model being the right business model for you? And then within that, you have to start to architect out the goals, more like the specific work vision. All right. We've talked a lot about life vision. This is where it kind of dials into work vision. What exactly are your work hours? What exactly are your financial goals, and why? Why that number specifically? What will that do? What exactly is your contribution to the company? For example, I told you guys yesterday when I was reading my 3-year vision, there are 4 components to my highest contribution to the company: connection, learning, teaching, and creating. I have to be doing those things. Those are my highest contribution. What is it for you? The homework questions tonight, which I'm going to give you in a minute, are going to be a step in that direction for you also. So get excited about that. There's some good questions, but you have to kind of start to architect out your dream business model. How confident do you feel in that? Where are you at right now? Is that where you're stuck? So scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you about your dream business model, having architected that out? And then the specific work vision, having really laid that out. Where are you at with that? This is going to help you to know this is where I need to work next. Have you talked about team? Have you talked about how owner dependent you want the company to be or not owner dependent? That is a big decision, right? We hear a lot about personality driven brands and how successful those can be and how quickly those can grow, and people love to buy from people. But hey, I mean, is a personal brand the right business model for you? It doesn't have to be. So we talk about team, talk about owner dependency internally, owner dependency in terms of how the forward facing business, owner dependency as it relates to your team. I mean, there's so much there. How do you feel? Where are you at with that? And then you need a CEO roadmap. Like, I know you may or may not think of yourself as a CEO, but you need to, right? You are the CEO of your company, whether you are currently the only employee or not. You have to think like a CEO. So you have to be able to identify your highest contribution. You have to be able to identify the tasks or work that you do that actually drives revenue, so that your employees aren't wasting time and money, even if you are your only employee, right? So you have to have 80-20. We talked about that yesterday. 80-20 your products or services. You need to 80-20 your use of your time as the CEO to make sure that you're doing only those 20% of highest revenue creating tasks. Your homework tonight, your reset prompt tonight is going to help you identify those, but you have to have identified that. Then you also need to know how to scale your income with strategic offers. You don't just build anything and then anything can be incredibly profitable, right? Like, for example, if you make soaps that you sell for $15 and it costs you $10 to make the soap and you can only sell it for $15, just think about it. How much soap would you have to sell to make $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month? Okay. So you have to really understand how to scale your income, unless that's the perfect amount for you. And then you're like, great, awesome. I'm going to sell 100 bars of soap a month. Done. That's all the revenue I need. Otherwise, you really do have to know how to strategically scale your income through the offers. And there's things that go into that 64-4 rule, creating offers for 3 distinct types of customers. There's like the espresso machine concept. Like, what's the high ticket offer that you sell to just that one little sliver of your audience that will buy it? It's a lot to that. So where do you feel like you're at with scaling your income with strategic offers? So all of that we're going to cover in the intensive. So there you go. For those of you that have already signed up, that's where we're headed. That's all the stuff that we're going to work through. And Graham and I both are going to provide a lot of nuts and bolts coaching along the way. But hey, if you can't join us for that, if you can't make that investment, then at least use what I've just given you as a roadmap of like, okay, I feel good about that. I need to do a little bit more work here. I think I need to dig in. I'm going to need to spend the next few months like really deep diving there, but that does kind of give you a bit of a roadmap for where to go next. Okay. I know we're running short on time. Let me give you your reset prompts, and then I can stay on for a few more minutes. If anybody wants to stay on and has any questions, I'm happy to stay on a bit longer. And then my husband's leaving for the weekend. I need to go wish him off. He's getting ready to leave literally in like the next few minutes. But here's what you're going to do in your homework tonight. Okay. The next 2 questions are really fun questions. Okay. The next 2 questions are from Tim Ferriss. They're not mine originally. They're from the 4-Hour Work Week. But if you could only work 4 hours a week, if you could only work 4 hours a week, like your doctor said, your heart will explode. You're going to have a heart attack if you work more than 4 hours. If you could only work 4 hours a week, what would you focus on doing? It's going to force you to identify the money-making activities, right? If you could only work 4 hours, well, you probably wouldn't have time for that. Probably wouldn't have time for that. Probably wouldn't have time to be on Instagram. Probably wouldn't have time to, like, you'd have to only do 1 or 2 things or a small handful of things. And then if you could only offer 1 product or service, just one, what would you offer? And you're going to kind of base that off of numbers. Like, you're going to look back. I hope if you're strategic, you're going to look back at what you did in revenue over the last year, what worked, what didn't, and like what's life-giving for you. If you could only have 1 product or offering, what would it be? So those are going to be your reset prompts. I won't be back here tomorrow to like hear how that went for you. But man, if you can join us for the intensive, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be super awesome. So I can stay on for a few minutes. First of all, just for anybody that has to leave, thank you for doing the work this week. It has been incredible. And now you have this with you. Now, the videos, the challenge replays are going to disappear at the end of this weekend. I think Shelly said we'd leave it up through the weekend, and then those are going to go away. So please go back and make sure that you watch the replays, or if you sign up for the intensive today, by midnight tonight, you will get the recordings for all the challenges. So I don't want you guys to miss out on the chance to go back and re-listen. Make sure you do that. You have the workbook prompts that I've given you. But if you're going to the intensive, then you're going to get all of that. Plus you're going to get deep dive questions for each of those areas. So you'll be set if you're going to the intensive. If you're not going to be able to go to the intensive, make sure that you go watch those replays. Thank you guys for doing that deep work. Okay, I'm going to hang on for a little bit to answer some questions. Shelia, do we have any questions that we want to, that have come in that we would be good to cover in this like little bit of time left?
The most specific one I saw is, what if you don't know how to make your zone of genius make money?
Well, I'd love to know what the zone of genius is.
This is from Cassie.
Okay. I would argue, and I think Graham would probably back me up on this, but Cassie, if you're still on here, go ahead and tell us what your zone of genius is. Graham would argue, and I would too, that you can make a business out of anything. I would love for you to put him to the test on that. But I mean, he literally wrote a book called How to Get Paid for What You Know, under the premise that any person and every person can build a business model. So I would question whether that's just like a limiting belief that you have been telling yourself. Oh, I love this, but there's no way it could make me any money. You might need to do it differently. You may need to offer it creatively. You may need to look outside of the industry for a different model. But I would kind of challenge you on that. So did you say that was from Cassie?
Yep, she just answered in chat. I want to start a podcast talking about my life as an adoptive mom and a mom through pregnancy after infertility.
Podcasts don't have to not make you any money. I don't see anything in that seals the deal that you can't make that profitable. I think that's something that you're telling yourself. So I just want to challenge you on that. I think you can make money. There's so much you could do with that. Graham just walked in the room and he's nodding his head. There's so much that you could do.
Do it.
Can she, she feels like she would not be able to make money starting a podcast talking about her life as an adoptive mom and a mom through pregnancy after infertility.
100%.
100%.
We can get you to $100,000 a year or more on that.
Bold.
It's true. Because you're connecting with the whole internet of people who want an advocate and want someone who identifies with them. And then there's a lot of ways to monetize it.
Are you leaving?
Yes, I'm leaving.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm busting into.
Sorry, whenever. Love you, darling.
Love you.
He's leaving for the weekend. Okay, so that was more of a challenge than an answer. Love you, darling. Have fun. That was more of a challenge than an answer, but we both feel very strong. I know we're joking, but we're not joking. Like there really is a way that you can monetize that 100%. Don't tell yourself you can't.
Okay,
any other questions?
Yeah. Lisa wants to know, I agree. You can make money on that.
Yeah.
Lisa wants to know, so for the 4 hours question, are we focusing on revenue generating or do we want to dial in the other aspects of life that we've been working on?
No, focus on revenue generation. Great question. And that really goes into the, I'll give the 30-second version of the 80-20 principle. 80% of what you're wasting your time doing is only generating 20% of your revenue as a business owner. 20% of what you're doing as a business owner is actually generating 80% of your revenue. The question on the 4 hours is to help you uncover what that 20% is that is actually generating 80% of the revenue. So for example, when I first started out as a commercial photographer, the way I made money was taking photographs. If I did not take photographs, there was no business. That meant photographs trumped anything else. Shooting trumped anything else. So 100%, it is designed to help you to identify the highest ROI activities that you're doing. If you could only work 4 hours a week and actually make money, what would you do? Good question. It's a really good question.
Okay, we have 2 questions about the intensive.
Yeah.
Michael asked, is the intensive more focused on the mindset work or the implementation?
It's going to be more on the implementation, but we will revisit some of those really important foundational building blocks in the morning. And what I'm going to do is, for those of you that attended the challenge and you've already worked through some of those questions, I'm going to have other questions that you'll be answering. And then there will be people who either missed that day of the challenge, or this is new to them, they weren't a part of the challenge. And then they will go back and they'll work on the questions that you all have already completed. So we will do a little bit of mindset work, the first part of it, and then making sure that, and that's where you'll be able to get feedback on some of the things. Like some of you yesterday, when I read my life vision, you were like, oh, wow, I need to go back and rewrite mine. So this wasn't very much like two-way interaction for that kind of thing. Whereas that will be, you would have a chance to say, here are my whys, and this is how I said I was going to measure them. Does this make sense? And you'll be able to actually get feedback. So long answer to your question is it'll lean a little more to implementation, because that's going to be some more nuts and bolts coaching, but we're not going to skip over that, over the initial stuff, because I have more questions for you. And we got to lay that solid foundation. So hopefully that answers your question. I would say like 1/3 mindset to 2/3 where to go from there.
And Kareen said, I imagine the intensive will have a large attendance. Will you have capacity for individual guidance? It sounds like we'll be covering a lot of ground.
We're trying to price it after tonight. I mean, this is crazy cheap the way we're offering it to those of you that have been in the challenge. After tonight, it doubles in price. I mean, it's going to progressively double in price. So we're hoping that creates a barrier so that it is a smaller group. And I was even thinking this morning, if it for some reason got too big, then I think I would consider offering like a secondary date, because I really do want to make sure that there is a way that we keep the crowd at a manageable size so that everyone does feel like they're really able to have some say. Again, like a lot of the magic of the work is going to be the work that you're doing. So I'm really not worried about anyone coming away and feeling like they didn't get anything out of it. I mean, I think it's really going to be really amazing work, but we are going to make sure that it's capped in such a way that it's a really good group size for the way that we've laid out the content. If people storm the gates, we will create a secondary date. Okay. I just told Shelly that. Shelly didn't know that until just now.
Yay.
Yay.
Okay. Laura asked, Shay, I just happened to stumble upon your YouTube video about if it was time to hire a mentor, and I was applying that advice to the intensive. If right now we are not in a financial place for the intensive, will this training be launched or available in the future?
I have no idea. This is experimental. This is the first time we've ever done it. And I have no idea if I'll ever do it again. We'll see. We'll see how valuable it is. We'll see if it's really helpful. If it's helpful and powerful and people show up, then yeah, we'll do it again. But I can't make any promises right now. Don't have any other plans outside of this one intensive at the moment. I wish I had another backup option for you, but we're not there yet. Was that it? Anything else?
Yeah. You guys, I had to twist Shay's arm to do this. Like, this is a big step.
You guys remember I'm a stock photographer, right? That's right. My day job. Oh man, I hope that it's that. Cassie said she just signed up. That's awesome. That's super exciting. Super exciting. All right. Anything else you guys need? I am so proud of you for doing this. I'm just so proud of you guys for showing up, committing to do this, the 30 minutes a day. We're at 40 minutes. I know I need to stop and I need to let you guys go, but thank you for letting me kind of come on this journey with you. I've gotten emails, I've gotten DMs. I'm trying to work my way through them, but I'm so glad that you all have gotten so much out of this. And I'm so excited for everybody that is going to be joining us at the intensive. Shalia just pinned the reset prompts, the link to join, to watch the replay from today, but also to get the reset homework prompts for tonight. So you can go ahead and do that. And then there's the link to actually register for the intensive. Do not forget, midnight tonight, the price will be going up. So this is the only time, and you are the only people that we are offering this rate at right now. So I hope you take advantage of that. Even if you can't be there, all the recordings will still be enough that you will feel very well equipped to walk yourself through this. Okay. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Sarah. Shelia, thanks for all your help pulling this off. I couldn't have done this without her here. So thank you guys for making this first challenge into an intensive such a huge success. Keep giving us your feedback, please. Email Shelia what you thought about it. connect@shaycochran.com. If you only do one thing after you go register for the intensive, shoot Shelia a quick email and tell us through her if this was valuable for you and what was the most valuable thing about it. We would really love to hear your feedback, and testimonials will determine whether we do this kind of thing in the future. So if this was amazing and helpful and powerful, let us know, please. Otherwise, I'll just go back to shooting photos. Okay. I hope that you all have a wonderful Friday. You all know how to reach us. Thank you for diving into this with us. And I'm excited to see every one of you possible at that intensive. Natalia, I'll see you at the intensive. Paula, I'll see you at the intensive. I'll see you guys on September 15th. All right. Bye.